A momentous year it was, 2008 now gone. A leap year it was indeed, in more ways than just one. The year when Belizeans took a giant leap of faith from the old way of doing things, which had a definite but undesired outcome, to a new order that offered limitless possibilities we once could only imagine.
For the deepening of our democracy, the institutionalizing of the commitment to good governance, and the lifting up of the Belizean people.
From political abuse, diversion of public funds, and some would allege outright theft that was the order of the day, to a new commitment to transparency, accountability, and fiscal responsibility in the management of the nation's affairs at every level of government. From the plundering of public finances and assets by a chosen few that was the old way of doing business, to a new kind of administration committed to major investments in infrastructure and in the people, increased allocations for education and school subsidies, social assistance and food allowances for the poor, accompanied by tax relief for the masses in basic food items, medicine, fuel, butane, and other essential commodities, tax exemptions for agricultural inputs, new credit for farmers, new allocations for tilapia farming, the committing of financial resources and land to steer youth at risk into a productive lifestyle, and implementation of constitutional reforms to ensure that politicians never again are able to misuse and abuse the people's resources without having to account for it, and face severe consequences, and to declare unequivocally that the country's petroleum resources belong to the government and people, thereby ensuring that Belizeans get a fair share of the wealth derived from those resources. It has been a year of tremendous challenges. Acts of God, such as the disastrous floods that affected first the Stan Creek district and later the Cayo, Belize, and Orange Walk districts. Then there were the man-made disasters, such as crime and violence, punctuated by grenade attacks, the ripening fruits of socio-economic disorder, the seeds of which were planted over decades of neglect. A nation $2 billion in debt with nothing to show for it, crumbling infrastructure, and an angry and despairing populace. Yet from the wreckage of human abandonment and natural disasters emerged the indomitable spirit of the Belizean people, revivified, redoubled, and repersonified as new heroes were born, even as some old and not so old ones departed from us, and as others long gone were finally recognized and immortalized. In truth, they all live on, some in spirit, some in flesh, as they continue to inspire us to face the challenges of the present and the future. Regionally and globally, existing alliances were strengthened, old ones rekindled, and new ones established. Notwithstanding the misappropriations of the past, Taiwan redoubled its generosity to Belize through budgetary support to the tune of $50 million, assistance in agriculture, health, and education, with further investments being considered in oil exploration and refining. So did Venezuela, whose generosity, in addition to the $20 million in housing grant now recovered and being spent on the people, is also being felt through initiatives such as PetroCaribe and assistance in agriculture and health. Mexico remained an invaluable neighbor and friend, with vital contributions in countless areas of cooperation, and so did Cuba. Our regional ties with the Caribbean were reaffirmed, Prime Minister Dean Barrow having just assumed the chairmanship of CARICOM for the next 6 months. So was our brotherhood with the Commonwealth of Nations and with our former mother country, England, whose Commonwealth Debt Relief Initiative has provided valuable funding for undertakings such as the Mopan Technical High School and the La Immaculada Primary School Extension projects in Cayo West. As a stable and deepening democracy, we gave our respect to the battle-worn leadership of the free world, even as we hail the emergence of a new, historic leadership with a fresh and timely vision of the world.
I will yield to no man in my praise for Barack Obama.
We even made great progress in our relationships with not-so-friendly neighbors as we attempt to settle old differences under the umbrella of progressive regional organizations like the OAS. Confidence in Belize by the multinational agencies was restored. The IDB came through with $13 million to re-stimulate tourism and $15 million for solid waste management, with further considerations for health and other areas. The CDB committed $20 million to restart the DFC, in addition to $20 million already dispersed for the long overdue paving of the Placencia Road. The European Union consummated its commitment, releasing funds for the upgrading of sugar roads in the north and for the banana support program in the south, handing over trucks to strengthen the technical services unit also in the banana belt, disbursing funds for the Crooked Tree water system through the Social Investment Fund, ensuring the completion of Cayo's new farmers market in the west, and committing funds for the Middlesex Bridge on the Hummingbird Highway. Rekindled also was the World Bank's trust in our country, with funding for agriculture and other areas of national development being considered. Disastrous though they were, the floods of 2008 brought their own blessings as the Canadian government and military provided part funding and labor to construct new, durable houses for flood victims in Stan Creek. Taiwan and Venezuela both provided additional help for disaster relief. The US military donated a semi-permanent structure at Kendall, with the CDB already committed to fund a permanent and modern 2-lane bridge. Also forthcoming is post-disaster rehabilitation financing from CDB and IDB, new grants from the Petro-Carib Fund and CARICOM, and concessionary loans from the IMF and World Bank. The United Nations, through the Food and Agriculture Organization, FAO, has already provided funding for agricultural inputs to affected farmers. Our own government has reaffirmed its commitment to recovery and rehabilitation, providing immediate assistance to repair and refurbish homes affected, and quickly commencing the rehabilitation of road infrastructure, while securing and budgeting further financing for major upgrades such as the lifting and widening of the Northern Highway from Belize City to Ladyville. 2008 was a year with its fair share of ups and downs, wheels and turns, rises and falls, challenges and opportunities. But all in all, it was a good year, a year when hope was renewed and sanity restored. Patriotism overcame terror, truth defeated propaganda, and optimism outlived unfounded doom and gloom. In 2008, the forces of political abuse, economic oppression, and social injustice were toppled and trampled to the ground, a tribute to what Prime Minister Dean Barrow called the Belizean Coalition of Democratic Resistance.
The teachers, the students, the housewives, the public officers, the merchants, the businessmen, that coalition of democratic resistance that in February of this year successfully confronted and closed the worst era of excess in our modern history.
In 2009, Belizeans will persevere and prosper with the virtues of righteousness and justice on our side.
And we are configured now not to shrink from any challenge, not to dodge any hardship, not to shirk any toil, and all in furtherance of a cause that transcends party, that transcends self, the cause of our beloved Belize.